Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Last night, the Reds made it back-to-back wins to take the series against the Atlanta Braves. Early on, home runs by Bird and Frazier. And that would be all the youngster Raisel Iglesias would need. 8 innings of one-run baseball in his first major league win. Tonight, the Reds hand the ball to their ace, Johnny Cueto, trying to make it 3 in a row. And it is a beautiful night again for baseball in downtown Cincinnati. We welcome you inside of Great American Ballpark. The opener of 4 between the San Francisco Giants and the Cincinnati Reds. And hi again, everybody, alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day. I'm Tom Brenneman, welcoming you to the broadcast booth here at Great American Ballpark. We look at the probables, the first of 4 in this series, and some good matchups starting tonight.
I love 4-game series, first of all, because you really get to know all of the ball club, and you're going to see 4/5 of the rotation like the Reds will do. Tonight, Johnny Cueto on the mound, Marquis, Mike Leake, and Michael Lorenzen will pitch in this series. Tim Lincecum and Madison Bumgarner, those are the 2 big horses in the rotation. But maybe Lincecum drew the short straw because he's got to face Johnny Cueto. Against the Giants, he's been very good in his career, and he just keeps getting better and better and better. It seems like every time he faces the Giants, he's got a new wrinkle here or a new pitch there. He's one guy that you may say he's probably the best pitcher right now active in the National League that has never won the Cy Young Award, and I think there are a lot of Giants hitters that would probably agree with that.
Tim Lincecum, ironically enough, has won a pair of National League Cy Young Awards. He's not been the same guy over the last couple of years, although a pretty good start to this season.
Well, he's had a very good start to this year, but he's really reinvented himself, Lincecum has, because when he won those Cy Young Awards back in 2008 and 2009, he was a power pitcher. I'm talking about 95-mile-an-hour fastball, devastating slider and changeup, and he's more of an off-speed pitcher now. He goes to a lot of split fastballs and so on. So we're going to see the Reds hitters now adjusting to off-speed from Lincecum tonight.
And one guy hoping to square him up, a giant killer, Jay Bruce. Jim Day has that story when we return. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
Night at the old ballpark tonight. They're honoring Jim Scott from 700 WLW. He's retiring. Big tip of the hat to you, Jim. Looks like a pretty decent evening. Mostly cloudy skies, but pleasant temperatures. We'll start at 68, fall down to 64. This one's for Jim. That, my friends, is in the river. Woo-hoo! Enjoy the game, everyone, on Fox Sports Ohio.
Tim, thank you. It's a milestone night for Jay Bruce. Tonight will be his 1,000th career game. Hard to believe. It seemed like yesterday the kid arrived here on the scene. Now, we all know that Jay Bruce is off to a very slow start here in 2015, and sometimes players need something just to get them going, and perhaps the San Francisco Giants are that remedy. He's our IGS bringing the energy. And you want to talk about energy against a club. Bruce, .331 career average versus San Francisco. That's the highest batting average versus the Giants among active players. Minimum 150 plate appearances. And we're talking about a Giants organization that has not only won world championships, but they can flat out pitch. So we hope number 32 gets it going tonight. Runs could be at a premium. Mound Masters meet. Cueto, Lensico. I'm Brenneman. Chris Welsh. We're up next on Fox Sports Ohio.
Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy. Check out their award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good. It's Skyline time. Beautiful look at downtown Cincinnati. And we welcome you back to Great American Ballpark, where the home team, the Cincinnati Reds, takes the field in game 1 of 4 against Bruce Bochy's San Francisco Giants, a franchise that has won 3 World Series titles under that man over the last 5 seasons. Let's take a look at his starting lineup tonight. Gregor Blanco will lead off in left. Joe Panik at second base. Angel Pagan batting third. They're still without Hunter Pence. Buster Posey, the catcher. Brandon Belt at first, with Justin Maxwell in right. A ladder third of Brandon Crawford, the shortstop. The slumping Casey McGee at third. And 3-2 right-hander Tim Lincecum on the mound. Johnny Cueto's been great against these San Francisco Giants. He has dominated this franchise. He only faced them one time last year, allowed just 2 runs. Now he's trying to get it together, if you will, a little bit, Chris. His last start was misleading because he gave up those 3 runs late. But in his last 2 games, in total, he surrendered 9 runs.
Yeah, you're right. And it was the start before last where Johnny Cueto really got knocked around a little bit. And I think that every time you see Johnny Cueto have a bad outing, all it means to me is that you're 1 game closer to him having a great outing. And the game that you're talking about is that he gave up 4 runs against the Chicago White Sox on top of 5 runs against the Atlanta Braves. So I think one thing, you get him back home, and Cueto's throwing the ball extremely well. He knows a lot of these hitters. There are a couple of guys in this lineup that have given him problems in the past. We'll get to that as they come up.
All right, here we go. Gregor Blanco takes upstairs, ball 1. This one underway. Blanco, a .219 batter. This has not been a good offensive team, the Giants. In fact, they are among the worst offensive teams in all of Major League Baseball. But their pitching has been so good that they come in with a record of 17 up and 17 down after a horrible start the first 3 weeks.
You know, they're the ultimate overachievers. I mean, each and every year that you just saw Bruce Bochy, that he has taken his team to win the World Series, you got to figure that no one picked them to win the World Series. I mean, you look at their roster and you say, how did they do that? How do they win these games? They just figure out a way to do it.
2-2 the count on Blanco, who's been playing regularly because of the injury I mentioned a moment ago to Hunter Pence. He broke his forearm when he was hit by a pitch during spring training out in Arizona. And he has just started a rehab assignment for their AAA team. They hope to have him back soon. Schumacher, that's a nice play, but he won't be able to get up and throw out Blanco as an infield hit. Let's take a look at the Reds on defense, presented by Ford. And as you know already, Schumacher starts at second base tonight. Negron got the start last night in place of the injured Brandon Phillips. Everybody else pretty much the same, with Cozart healthy again at short. Not only has Cueto dominated the Reds, or the Giants rather, the Reds have dominated the Giants, as it's ball 1 high to Joe Panik. Over the last 4 seasons, the Reds are 20-8 against San Francisco. They've won 11 of the last 14 regular season games against the Giants in this ballpark. But the only 3 games that anybody remembers in the series between these 2 teams occurred, of course, in the division series of 3 years ago. There are some of the numbers. I mean, in every category, it is staggering how the Reds have just overwhelmed very good San Francisco teams.
And it's even more impressive to see what they've done here at Great American Ballpark. I mean, not only won games, but outscored them decisively.
Was that 2012 National League Division Series after the Reds went to San Francisco and just bludgeoned the Giants in the first 2 games. Of course, in the opening game of that series, Johnny Cueto had to leave the game with an injury. Sam LeCure came on. Matt Latos came into that game. It sent the Reds' rotation in complete disarray for the remainder of the series. They were without Cueto. And the Reds, who had not lost 3 games in a row at home all year long, lost 3 games in a row at home. And the Giants would end up advancing through the LCS and ultimately winning the World Series.
Well, you wouldn't have to bring that up. I mean, there are still people here, Tom, in our viewing area that are trying to forget that series.
Believe me, I'm trying to forget about it. That was painful.
You know, I think that going back to that series, it seemed to me it just seemed to me that the Reds came into town and the attitude was in the clubhouse, all we have to do is win 1 game. And you knew right then and there may be some problem because they didn't win the first game. And now let's say, okay, we got 2 games to win 1. And now they were down to the last one, and it was a very tough game that day.
2-2 to Panik. Blanco was running on the 2-1 pitch, not the 2-2, and it's fouled out of play. If you go back to that game 3, the Reds in the bottom of the first inning got a run scoring base hit by Brandon Phillips, and this place just exploded to go in front 1-0. A wild pitch was thrown. Brandon Phillips tried to go, you may remember, first to third. He was thrown out trying to go to third. The Reds would get one more hit the rest of the game. Homer Bailey was spectacular, you may remember. But the Reds lost that game 2-1.
Yeah.
That's when Hunter Pence had the entire Giants team in a football huddle, jumping up and down, trying to get everybody excited before those final 3 games. And now the Giants delivered the goods. And Cueto is off to a shaky start tonight.
That's a pretty good at bat right there by Joe Panik. He's only a second-year major leaguer. He batted .300 last year. He comes in today at .285. But he's a guy that walks just about as much as he strikes out this year. And that's a nice little stat for a number 2 hitter in the lineup, to just kind of work the pitcher, work the pitcher. And Cueto is one of the most efficient pitchers in the National League. I mean, he gets it done in a hurry out there.
Now, you mentioned a couple of guys in this Giant lineup that give Cueto problems. Granted, not a ton of at-bats for Angel Pagan. 7 at-bats. But he has 4 hits and 2 walks against Johnny Cueto. And he is off to a big-time start this year. Normally, he's their leadoff hitter. But with Pablo Sandoval gone, Pence injured, some other guys slumping, most notably the third baseman McGee, they dropped Pagan from the leadoff spot into the number 3 spot in the batting order. 1-1.
He's always been a pretty good hitter. He's on his 3rd major league team. He came up with the Cubs, then played a few years with the Mets, and now on his 4th season with the Giants.
They're only going to get 1 out of this. And they barely got that. Pagan can really run, busting it up the line. So in essence, serves the same as a sacrifice. Runners at 2nd and 3rd with 1 out in the inning, and Buster Posey coming up. Pagan and Posey have done most of the damage against Cueto. But the way the schedule lays out over the last number of years, you only play teams in your league in the other division. 1 home series, 1 road series. So Posey has only faced Cueto 7 at-bats, but he does have 3 hits. Strike 1.
Posey is one of those players that he reminds me a little bit of Joey Votto, in as much as he's a very difficult out. He doesn't chase a lot of pitches out of the zone, doesn't get himself out early on bad pitches. He walks nearly as much as he strikes out.
That ball blistered into center field, and the Giants had jumped on Cueto right from the start. 1 run scores, and it's a 1-0 Giants lead here in the opening inning.
Looked like Cueto did Buster Posey a favor here. He had a pitch on the corner for a strike, the first one, and then he comes pretty much right in the center of the plate. Even though it was an off-speed pitch, Posey puts a good part of the bat on it, and good hitters do that.
Now the first baseman, Brandon Belt. Well, what a lift this is for the Giants right from the start. A team that's just dominated them, a pitcher that's just owned them. And you're 4 batters into the game, you have a run already on the board, and runners at 1st and 3rd with only 1 out.
You know, when Johnny Cueto takes this much time between pitches, fiddling around the mound a little bit, taking time to pick up the rosin, I mean, he's just trying to get his act together. I mean, he's being his own coach right now. And you've got to figure out what you're doing wrong and correct it by yourself.
The Giants and the Royals, who played against one another in last year's World Series, hit the fewest home runs in their respective leagues. And the power drought has continued for the Giants again this year. You have Posey with 5. There's not another player in this lineup outside of Brandon Crawford who has more than 3. But that's not their game, especially with a ballpark in which they play 81 times a year.
Yeah, watch the body. I mean, you're right. I mean, this is a ballpark that, not this ballpark, their park, AT&T Park in San Francisco. I mean, you just have to wallop it to get it out of there. So I don't think they really build their team around home run hitters. Why would you? Johnny's just missing. I mean, he was giving himself a stern talking to after he missed a changeup down and away on the last pitch. And he's been very tentative on each pitch. Not tentative, really more careful and taking his time getting himself planned and ready to go.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Runner goes first to second. Swing and a miss. Pena will throw down, and they have the runner to run down. Now you have a runner at third. Cozart will throw to third. Frazier comes to the plate. Inning over. Boy, do the Reds need that.
Perfectly executed defense.
And really, you thank the Giants for that. Sending Posey on that 3-2 pitch. Sitting ending, strike him out, throw him out, double play.
Good defense. First of all, this is a routine play. If you've got players strong enough to make the throw, Cozart handles it perfectly. He fakes the throw to second. He makes sure that the runner at third is far enough off the bag. He's in no man's land, and the double steal attempt by the Giants, which a lot of people are probably scratching their head at. Maybe they didn't think that Brandon Bell was going to swing and miss on that and leave Buster Posey out the drive. But defense again comes to the Reds' rescue.
Let's take a look at the Reds starting lineup under manager Brian Price, who grew up in the Bay Area. Presented by Meyer. Hamilton, Cozart, Votto, Frazier, Bird, Bruce, Pena, Schumacher, Cueto. Against Tim Lincecum, a 2-time Cy Young Award winner in 2008 and 2009. A 4-time All-Star. Makes his 7th start of the year. He's been bouncing back and forth the last couple of seasons in which he's really struggled. From the rotation to the bullpen. And it's ball 1 to Billy Hamilton. Now Lincecum, in 6 career starts against the Reds, is 0-4 with an earned run average of almost 10 runs allowed per 9 innings. The Reds are the only National League team he has failed to earn a regular season victory against. The key being regular season victory. In Game 4 of that 2012 National League Division Series, he earned the win in this ballpark, pitching brilliantly out of the bullpen.
Billy loved to get on base because the running game works against Lincecum. A long, elaborate move to the plate. And that's what you're going to have to deal with. We talked about it a little bit in the open, Tom, about how Lincecum has really changed his pitching style, reinvented himself. No longer does he bust it up there at 95 miles an hour. It's all finesse.
The Reds, of course, are hoping that the 2 hits for Hamilton last night in his final 2 at-bats will jumpstart him right now.
And if you're going to adjust to a guy that you know is a different type of pitcher, because Hamilton really never faced Lincecum back in the day when he was a hard thrower, you know, there are a lot of different ways to do it. One is to think small, the other is to just move up in the box a little bit. Lincecum's ground ball rate has gone up. In fact, it's skyrocketed this year, which is a testament to the fact he doesn't throw that high fastball anymore. He lives down around the knees.
That's a fair ball. 1 out. The Giants defensively presented by Ford. They'll go with Pagan in center, flanked by Blanco and Justin Maxwell. Crawford among the best defensively at shortstop in the league. And a battery tonight of Lincecum and Buster Posey. Zach Cozart having an outstanding season. No 2 ways about that. Came back into the lineup last night after sitting out the first 2 games of the series as a starter against Atlanta. He doubled his first time up, scored a run, lined out to third. And this ball is smoked into deep right center field. And Pagan made the catch. What a play by Pagan. Wow.
Or you talk about just sucking the air right out of your sails. This play by Pagan is even more impressive than me because he's a visiting player. He doesn't get the practices very much. He knows he's coming up on the wall. He gets onto the warning track, and he's kind of reaching out there, not sure where that wall is, and somehow holds on.
Two up, 2 down after that marvelous play by Angel Pagan. Here's Joey Votto.
You may want to mention, Tom, that in San Francisco, that's a can of corn. That may not even get anywhere close to the warning track.
Nope.
So this is the adjustment that you have to make, especially when you come from playing in a big yard like AT&T Park to a much smaller ballpark here in Cincinnati.
1 ball, 1 strike to Joey Votto. 306 batters, 7 home runs, 21 runs batted in. Votto had 2 hits. Scored a run, knocked in a run last night.
That's about the 3rd time that Lincecum has fallen coming off the mound. He's got an unusually long stride for a pitcher his size. Normally a pitcher will stride somewhere in the neighborhood of the height of his body. Lincecum's stride is 125% of the height of his body. So he's got a really long stride for a guy that is not all that big in stature. He lists him at 5'11". He pitches like he's 6'4".
A 2-out walk issued by Lincecum to Joey Votto will keep this Reds opening inning alive for Todd Frazier. Frazier shares a National League home run lead with Bryce Harper of the Washington Nationals. Frazier has homered in each of the last 2 games. He has 12 on the year. Big slow breaking ball at 72 miles per hour. Snaps in there for strike 1 to Todd.
Well, he got the benefit of a high strike there.
Frazier, another one of the Reds, and there are many of them that have done so much damage against the San Francisco Giants. Votto takes off, and a throw down to second base, no chance. Votto already with his fifth steal in 6 tries.
And they ought to get used to it too, because the Reds are determined to run on anybody who will give them an opening. We saw it with a number of pitchers in the Pittsburgh Pirates series, in the Chicago White Sox series. And anybody who doesn't throw over or vary their times or give the catcher a chance, you're going to run everybody in this lineup. And no fear right now for Joey Votto in sliding.
Votto looked like he was headed to third base after Lincecum paid no attention to him, then glanced back at the last second. Reds now 41 steals in 46 tries. Pardon me, Chris.
That's the inside move right there. It doesn't usually work unless a guy is stealing. You know, if you just look at the raw numbers on Lincecum, in his career, he has given up 172 stolen bases. Catchers have thrown out 37. So he's had a guy on second base an awful lot.
And now Votto will advance to third base as that one gets away from Buster Posey.
That's a splitter. You can see it come right out of his hand right there, and it skims off the plate. When the ball hits the plate, it never really takes the same kind of hop that it does when it hits the dirt. And that's when you see, if it usually goes through the wickets, it's a plate ball.
That got the inner portion of Buster Posey's right thigh after it came off that plate. So now Frazier a chance to tie the game. Takes a strike. Three balls, 2 strikes. Lincecum to Todd Frazier. And it's ball 4. That is 16 walks in 36 innings this season for Tim Lincecum, including the 2 tonight.
Well, he decides to go with an off-speed pitch. That looks like a curveball. You see the rotation going really right over the top. 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock curve.
We talked a lot about it during the Atlanta series. The Reds were 1 for 14 with runners in scoring position. Their team batting average has been much better, up over 275 the last 10 days. But when you put guys on base, those numbers are declining. As a club, the Reds are batting 196 with runners in scoring position. And here's Marlon Byrd. Ball 1.
And you're wondering really if Todd Frazier may steal right here, because you're always looking for a breaking ball. They just got a high fastball on that count. I don't think that Lincecum's going to back up his fastball with another one very often tonight. It's always going to be fastball, off speed, another off speed, then a fastball.
Back-to-back 2-out walks issued by Lincecum to Votto and Frazier. The Reds have them on the corners. We're in the bottom of the first inning. And the Giants out to a 1-0 lead. Posey says, hold on a minute. One ball and 2 strikes on Byrd, who leads the Reds so far here in the month of May with 11 runs batted in. Votto the tying run, Frazier the lead run at third and first respectively with 2 away. And Byrd with work to do down in the count 1-2. Lincecum finally okays a sign with Posey. And falls down. He caught his cleat, it looked like, trying to deliver the ball. Frazier takes off and steals second base. Okay, the Giants caught a little bit of a break right there. Normally you see a guy falling down, he'll throw one all the way to the backstop.
Or he'll just stop his delivery and it would be a balk. But I mean, he slips, his right foot slips first. That ball was pretty close to being a strike. That's the odd thing about it right there. I'm not sure what Marlon Byrd would have done had that ball crossed the strike zone. But I think his foot slipped, his right foot first and then his left foot.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Marlon Byrd. And it's ball 3. Jay Bruce hoping for a chance in the on-deck circle. The payoff pitch coming to Marlon Byrd. And it's ball 4, and Lincecum has walked 3 consecutive batters after he retired the first 2 in the inning. Fortunate to retire Cozart on the great play made by Pagan, and here comes the Giants pitching coach Dave Righetti.
You know, I've always thought, Tom, in the 3 previous games that Tim Lincecum has pitched here at Great American Ballpark, 1 in June, 1 in July, 1 in August, and I never really thought that he adapted to Cincinnati summer heat very well. It just seemed like it wore him down. His earned run average overall in those games is over 9 runs a game. This is not that kind of situation tonight, but it's obviously a pitcher that is trying to go about his business in a completely different way than what we've seen in the past. And right now he's having trouble with his footing on the mound and pitching in a small ballpark where he is very conscious of where those walls are and how they close in on you here in Cincinnati, where they don't in San Francisco.
Well, Jim Day set the table right from the get-go. Of all the players in Major League Baseball, Jay Bruce has the highest career batting average against the Giants than any other. But we know that Bruce has struggled so mightily here in 2015, and he looks at ball 1. And at this point, the way Lincecum is going, it's that old question, Chris, you and I throw out there all the time. Is Lincecum capable of throwing 3 strikes before he throws 4 balls?
Well, I think that's what really should be going through Jay's mind right now. You know, don't be too anxious up there. You make sure you get one you like. Boy, 86 miles an hour.
The bases are loaded thanks to 3 straight walks. 2 are out. 1 and 1 to Bruce. And he's tardy on an 86-mile-per-hour fastball and dumps it foul off to the third base side. Those are the numbers we were talking about. A .331 career hitter against the Giants is Jay Bruce. Votto, Frazier, and Byrd filling the bases. The 1-2 to Bruce. Count even. Again, another situation we talk about all the time. This figures to be the money pitch in this at bat. Lincecum not wanting to go 3-2 with the bases loaded. This is a pitch he's trying to get Bruce out. And it's hammered. Right center field. Pagan at the wall. He's got it. And the inning is over. Second time on this homestand, Bruce has hit one to the base of the wall. Lincecum just trying to exhale. Johnny Cueto pitches per inning so far among National League hurlers, the 3rd fewest per inning. See, the Reds also have Mike Leake at number 7. They have Anthony DeSclafani at number 11. The National League average, you see, is 16, although Cueto has already thrown 23 in the first inning tonight. Giants scored in the first. The Reds left him loaded in the bottom of the inning. And Cueto delivers strike 1 to right fielder Justin Maxwell. 3 home runs, 15 runs batted in for Maxwell. Strike 2. Slow roller down to 3rd. Frazier will barehand. Makes a nice play to throw out Maxwell 1 away.
Well, he put those big mitts to use on that one because that is a difficult play. Most of the time an infielder will only barehand it if he absolutely has to, if the ball is still rolling. And you got to keep your eye on it, pick it up. Once that part is done, the rest of it is fairly easy for an accomplished infielder like Frazier. Nice play.
Number 7 hitter, the Giants shortstop Brandon Crawford. Crawford among the hottest Giants coming into this series, and we told you they've had a terrible time scoring runs. But Crawford has been nearly a .350 batter over the last 2 weeks to bring his season average from way down at the start to the current .264.
Which is about 20 points higher than his career batting average. He's given the Giants about .250 every year. A little bit of home run output last year. He had his high water mark of 10.
Cueto lost his glove trying to reach back for that ball. And Cozart throws out Crawford 2 away in the inning. Sometimes, you know, you're on the lookout right away. Did he throw his glove at the ball? You've talked about that before.
Well, you can throw your glove at the ball without penalty, but if you hit the ball with your glove, that's when you give up a 3-base penalty. And that was not an intentional throw at the ball.
Casey McGee was brought in after having a really good season last year. You may remember this is a young man who came up. We saw him a lot with Milwaukee. Looked like he was going to be among the better hitters among all third basemen in the National League, and then the wheels just fell off in his career. Got another chance with the Marlins, made the most of it, and then after Pablo Sandoval decided to leave the Giants to go to Boston, Casey McGee was brought in. And he's all the way down to the number 8 spot in the batting order as a 184 hitter.
Well, take a look at him setting up right here, and I can tell you why he's hitting 184, because when he takes a stride, you know, his feet are set up right here like that, and he never really gets himself closed up. So that's why Johnny Cueto is going to go away until McGee makes an adjustment. I mean, he's got the same problem right-handed, really, that Jay Bruce is living with right now, left-handed. Not keeping your hip in there.
3-1 to McGee. Full count.
You know, it's dangerous if you throw it where he just left.
Inning over. 1-2-3 for Johnny in the second. He has a pair of strikeouts. The Reds come to bat, trailing by a run.
this year after last night. Iglesias with 8 innings pitched. Reds rookies to pitch 8 or more innings in a game in 2015. He matches Anthony DeSclafani in the last duel of rookies to do that. Mike Leake and Travis Wood back in 2010. As you get a look at the youngsters, a lot of question today what Reds were going to do with Raisel Iglesias. Would he go back to Louisville? Would he stay in the big club? Would he be in the rotation? That question was answered at least briefly today. The Reds have 2 off days next week, so they have chosen to put not only Raisel Iglesias but Michael Lorenzen into the bullpen temporarily. After those off days, they will make a decision. One of those 2 will go back into the rotation, but both of them staying on the big club.
Bouncing ball, Panic cuts it off, throws out Brian Pena to start the Reds' second inning with the Giants in front 1-0. Of course, the Reds did make one roster move before the game. We told you they signed Ryan Matthews, who at one time was a very solid, very dependable, very durable reliever, while Jim Riggleman was managing Matthews with the Washington Nationals. He's had a couple of injuries the last couple of years which have sidetracked his career. The Reds brought him in after pitching AAA so far this year in the Angels organization. He arrived before the game. He is now part of the 25-man roster. Pedro Villarreal was sent back to AAA Louisville. Two and two on Skip Schumacher. Lined into left center field. Blanco there to get it. 2 out. Well, the pitcher Cueto coming up, and we remind you this Saturday, Reds and the Giants right here, part of our Super Saturdays. The first 25,000 fans in attendance receive a Johnny Bench Stars of the Queen City bobblehead presented by John Morrell. Tickets are going quickly. Gobble them up. What's left? 381 REDS. Johnny with 2 hits in 11 at bats so far this year. 0-2. Three finals involving National League Central Division teams from earlier today. The Cardinals defeated Cleveland 2-1. We'll tell you about the others a little bit later on. Lincecum his first strikeout. It's a 1-2-3 inning. It's 1-0 Giants. home run off that Toyota sign in right center tonight. Dick Vonderhaar of Westchester, Ohio, will win that Toyota Tundra. And you can register for your chance to win at an upcoming game. Just stop by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer.
You know, Tom, I had somebody ask me the other day, how far do you think that Toyota truck is from home plate?
The truck?
The truck. You don't have to hit the truck. You just have to hit the sign.
Right.
The truck is up there on a pedestal way back there.
Oh, man. I mean, do you know the answer?
Well, I don't yet. I brought a device to measure today and then didn't take it down to the field. I can tell you how far it is from our booth.
What, is that one of your little golf trinkets? Is that
yes,
what that
it
is?
217 yards, which would be a really long par 3. Small green.
Yeah, but
up
I
on
mean,
top
for
of
you,
it.
that's nothing. Now, you're the guy on the last road trip that had a hole-in-one.
I haven't come close since.
Doesn't matter. Lincecum bounces out to Schumacher to begin the inning. Giants with a 1-0 lead. And trying to butt his way on is Gregor Blanco. He had an infield hit and scored the only run of the game in the first inning. You know, you think about that Giants franchise. 1954, when they were still playing in New York, is when they beat Cleveland in the World Series. And then, of course, 4 years later, the Giants moved to San Francisco as that one is served into left field, and that is a fair ball off the bat of Blanco. Just a little pitching wedge, and he dumps down the line for a 1-out double.
Boy, Blanco came into this ball game 1 for 8 career against Johnny Cueto, and now he's 2 for 2. Now that's just going down and getting it, just kind of slapping at it and hoping it stays fair. You hit those in batting practice, and everybody around the cage says, "Oh man, I'll take 3 of those tonight."
So here comes Panic. You can make the argument that Panic was the single biggest batter in that Giants first inning. They had Blanco at first with nobody out. There's a roller down to Votto. He'll shovel to Cueto. For out number 2, Blanco advances on to third. When Panic walked, it sent Blanco to second base. The runners advanced on a ground ball. And then Buster Posey knocked in Blanco for the game's lone run, and it's Pagan coming up. Pagan bounced down to the second baseman his first time up, and that one misses off the inside corner, ball 1. Obviously, anybody with a bat in their hands is capable of hurting you. And one of the reasons the Giants have won the World Series 3 times over the last 5 years is up and down the batting order. I mean, you can go to every player on this team, and you can think of a big hit or number of hits that every single one of them have had during their postseason runs. But the 2 guys in a lineup right now that really worry you are this guy and the guy on deck.
And for 2 different reasons. I mean, Pagan is a guy, and he's not going to hit you very many home runs. In fact, if you saw that swing that he had, he's kind of coming out of the batter's box trying to slice it just the way that Gregor Blanco did. Trying to yank that one. So really, I think what you're saying, Tom, or at least implying, is that you're pitching to this batting order knowing who's in the on-deck circle next. And if it's the number 3 or 4 guys, that's why you really concentrate on getting the guys out ahead of them, just like pitchers try to get the guys out ahead of Joey Votto. so they don't have to pitch to him if they don't want to.
3 balls and 2 strikes now on Pagan. Pagan, a very fiery player, highly emotional player. Brings a lot of passion to this Giant team. Layoff pitch, Cueto to Pagan. We'll do it again. Cueto has stayed out of the middle of the plate, as you just saw the pitches thus far in this at bat, and again a 3-2, and he walked it.
And he's also stayed up in the zone. And interesting, really, when we took a look at that pitch placement chart, because Pagan is a guy that holds the bat very high. It looks like he's just ready to drop the bat head on something down. A little different story with Posey.
Posey, an RBI single into center field, his first time up. Really, ever since Posey was brought up from the minor leagues, it's when the Giants took off as a franchise. He was only around for 7 games in 2009. He became a regular in 2010. And that's when they won their first of 3 World Series. That year they defeated Texas in a wild series. 2012 they overwhelmed Detroit. And then last year when they won it, a 7-game thriller, winning by a single run in Game 7. Cueto just balked.
Yep.
Hard to believe it took that long for anybody to see it.
Well, yeah, and he's going to go over and ask the third base umpire, and he's explaining through motions what he did. That's Tom Halyard over there. He's a crew chief. And the whole thing took so long to develop, I was unsure whether anybody was going to call it or not. He moves his glove twice. Comes to set, and then one more time. And at that point, he steps off. But he said that the second time is when he moved it. That was the ball.
Right there.
In fact, Posey saw it, and that's why he called timeout.
Right back to the mound. Cueto visibly upset, and he should be. Giants lead middle of the third, 2-0. Night. Be part of Reds Fan Cam with Mo Egger from 700 WLW over at the Holy Grail. It all gets started at 6 o'clock along the banks. So after the balk by Cueto with a runner at third brings in a run, the Reds come to bat with the top of the order trailing 2-0. Billy Hamilton, a tapper out in front of the plate, was thrown out by Posey in the opening inning. If you're just tuning in, Lincecum retired Hamilton. He had a great play behind him on a line drive to the wall from his center fielder Angel Pagan to retire Cozart. Then Lincecum walked 3 batters in a row before Jay Bruce lined one to the deepest part of right center field that again Pagan caught in front of the wall. Lincecum responded with a perfect second, but now the Reds with the top of the order. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Billy Hamilton. Can of corn to Pagan in center field. 1 out.
Well, Tim Lincecum, Tommy, you mentioned a couple of times, he was one of the best pitchers in all of Major League Baseball when he first broke on the scene. He came up in 2007. In 2008, he won 18 games and back-to-back Cy Young Awards in 8 and 9. He led the National League in strikeout 3 seasons in a row. And then he was a 4-time All-Star in a row from 2008 to 2011. I mean, it's hard to remember that this guy, I mean, you watch him now and he's a shell of what he was as far as his stuff. They call him the Freak because of his delivery. Back then, though, his average fastball was 95. It is now 89. He hasn't reached 88 yet tonight. His split finger pitches lost velocity. His curveball, he rarely throws all that much anymore, and he throws some sliders, not all that many. But it's mostly fastball, splitter, and a whole lot more splitters. And he used to be a 4-seam fastball guy, a guy that would just run it right up there, kind of like Tony Cingrani, right around the letters where you'd swing at it and all of a sudden you'd be under the ball and be in the middle. He reaches back and it's just not there anymore. So Major League pitchers and players are constantly adjusting and making changes in their game one way or another, and Lincecum's had to do it in a major way just to stay competitive. Led the league in losses a couple of years ago when he got tagged with 15 of those. He's having a pretty good year so far, though. 3 wins, 2 losses, earned an average right at 2.
Well, the year he lost 15 in 2012, they stayed with him as a starter during the regular season, but when they got in the playoffs, they sent Lincecum to the bullpen. We talked about him winning Game 4 here in that National League Division Series against the Reds. His earned run average in 2012 was over 5. It was almost 4.5 when he lost 14 the following year. It was over 4.5 last year when he lost his job in the starting rotation. The oddity of it all through Lincecum is that in each of the last 2 years when he's been by far a lesser pitcher stuff-wise, as you just documented, than he was his first 4, he's thrown no hitters in each of the last 2 years. Lincecum in relief in that Game 4 Division Series outing. Struck out 6 in 4 innings of relief. Earned the win in that one. In fact, Lincecum in that series pitched in 2 games out of the bullpen, and he was mighty good. Went a total of 6 1/3 innings, allowed 3 hits and a run. He did not pitch at all in the Division Series last year, did not pitch at all in the League Championship Series last year, and he pitched 1+ inning in the World Series last year. 2-1 on Joey Votto. So that's why a lot of people going into this season, when they're talking about the Giants, between Lincecum, not sure what you're going to get. A guy was an afterthought for you through your postseason run last year. Aging veterans and Tim Hudson trying to come back from injury. Jake Peavy. Yet, so far this year, they didn't know whether Matt Cain was going to be able to return. He looked great in the spring. Now he's not on the active roster for a while anyway. They're hoping to get him back. But Chris Heston has been really the guy. If you're looking for an ace so far this year for the Giants, it would be Heston. He's even been better than Madison Bumgarner.
You're right. Well, I think Joey Votto wondering how he missed that pitch. 3-1, looking for something out over the plate. Got it. I mean, he just about came off the ground with that swing.
Three and two to Votto. Cozart running. It's strike three, and Cozart did not even slide into second base.
He thought it was ball four.
By authority of the Cincinnati Reds, it may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Been a rather lackluster night so far for the Reds. Through the front three innings, they're down 2-0. Johnny Cueto to face Brandon Belt as we open the fourth inning. Belt struck out on the front end of a strike him out, throw him out, double play to end the San Francisco first inning. Maxwell to follow, and then Brandon Crawford. Big shift put on the left-handed batting Brandon Belt. There's that quick delivery we've seen from time to time this year by Johnny Cueto, where he does not go into the Louis Tiant-like spin and twist and just kind of quick pitches you. Tonight's one of those nights it's pretty evident that Cueto's going to have to try and battle through this one. You frequently hear that more times than not Even the great ones will have a number of starts over the course of a season where the stuff is just not where they expect it to be and where they want it to be. And Cueto, really, from the very first inning, has just been slightly off so far tonight.
And these are the nights where you really measure the value of a top of the rotation pitcher. I mean, everybody that picks up Major League Baseball is going to feel terrific once every 5 times out there where you can't do anything wrong. The line drives are at people. Pitches that are on the corner are just on the black instead of just off the black. Your arm feels good. Coming out of your hand really nice. Then there are nights like this. We got a battle on every time you pick the baseball up and throw it playward. Giants are giving him quite a few extended at bats. We showed you how efficient Johnny Cueto has been this year. And one of the reasons why is that when he's reaching back for his fastball, it's dialing it up at 92. We've seen him this year previously going to 95, and that's a big difference.
And here's another one of those extended at bats from Brandon Belt. Strike 3 called on the inside corner.
Little comeback two-seamer right there. Art Foxtrack shows that on the corner, and he gets the call from Alfonso Marquez. I mean, Brian Pena doesn't even have to move the glove. He just has to hold it.
Justin Maxwell, a slow roller up the third base line. Todd Frazier picked it up with his bare right hand and threw him out. The Giants are averaging slightly more than 3 runs per game so far this year. They've scored just 112 runs through their first 34 games. The fewest they have scored at this point of a season, going all the way back to 1985. More routine for Frazier this time. 2 out.
Well, they got off to a horrendous start, the Giants did. They won 3 of their first 4 ball games that they played. They played the Arizona Diamondbacks, won 2 out of 3 there. They beat the first game against the Padres. Then they went on and lost 9 in a row. And they were gasping for air in the Bay Area. Little by little, they battled back, and they come into this series 1 game over 500. I mean, they were 4-10 on Sunday, April the 19th. I mean, that's the kind of start the Milwaukee Brewers had.
But since then, only the St. Louis Cardinals have a better record. Giants have won 13 of the last 20. Cardinals have won 15 of their last 22. Of course, the Cardinals have the best record in all of Major League Baseball. They won again today, beating Cleveland 2-1 after Corey Kluber punched out 18 St. Louis Cardinals in 8 innings last night.
Really unbelievable. He was going after the Kerry Wood record. They had to send him back out there.
But the only 3 pitchers in the history of baseball, if I'm not mistaken, that have struck out 20 or more in a game are Randy Johnson, Kerry Wood, and Roger Clemens.
The other thing the Giants have done this year is that they have done a good job on 1-run ball games. They're 9 up and 4 down. They're 4-1 in interleague play, and they've won in extra innings. So the tight ball games are the ones that this team has figured out a way to win over the last few years, and they continue to do that this year. And they don't feel like they're 100% healthy yet.
You know, it's interesting. You and I talk a lot about, you know, teams that win 1-run games, and you'll have people that'll make the argument that, well, you know, it'll all even out sooner or later. Swing and a miss. We'll get back to this in a minute, because for things to even out for these San Francisco Giants, they got a lot of losing to do in 1-run games. by Meyer. By your local Ford dealer, Ford Go Further. And by Cincinnati Children's Hospital, ranking 3rd in the country on the U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals in America. A beautiful night, a gorgeous look at downtown Cincinnati. Reds on the short end of a 2-0 game. In fact, the Reds do not have a single hit against Tim Lincecum. He's walked 4 and struck out 2. Frazier, Bird, and Bruce here in the Reds' 4th inning. Todd, the second of 3 consecutive walks issued by Lincecum after 2 were out in the 1st inning. And they got Bruce on a fly ball to deep right center to leave him loaded. Three balls and a strike. Reds have won 10 of their last 17 to get back to the 500 mark. In fact, both these teams come in with identical records. That ball smoked down the left field line by Frazier. Reds' first hit, and it's a double for Todd Frazier to open the 4th inning.
Well, Lincecum pitched himself into a hitter's count there. He ended up going 3-1, and he did throw a couple of fastballs by Jay Bruce, but not so with Todd Frazier. I mean, he leveled on that one, and it's in the corner, lickety-split.
If you're just joining us, Tim Lincecum has never beaten the Cincinnati Reds in a regular season game. And has an earned run average of almost 10 earned runs surrendered per 9 innings pitched. I mean, take a look at just some of these outings. 3 2/3, 8 runs. 4 1/3 a season ago, 8 earned runs. And you're talking about a pitcher who's won 104 games in his major league career. And the Reds are the only National League team which Lincecum has never defeated in a regular season game. Oh, and 1 on Marlon Bird.
Well, he is really missing his spots big time. Posey's sitting low and outside. That ball goes up and in. We've seen both pitchers tonight really have to battle with their release points. Which means if you're wild outside the zone, you can be wild inside the zone. And Marlon Bird swinging kind of a hot bat.
That one will roll foul. Fortunately for Bird and the Reds, it's 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Lincecum was a #1 draft pick. He was chosen by the Giants 2006. He was the 10th player taken overall out of the University of Washington. But in that draft, that was Evan Longoria was in that draft. Clayton Kershaw was taken #7 in that draft, and the Reds drafted right after that and took Drew Stubbs from the University of Texas.
Leadoff double by Todd Frazier, who leads at second base. It's still 1 ball and 2 strikes on Marlon Bird. And now the count even at 2-2. Jay Bruce next. Reds trailing 2-0. We're in the last of the 4th inning, the first of a 4-game series. Expecting near sellout crowds, if not sellout crowds, each of the next 3 nights. Boy, the Reds attendance figures have just been off the charts through the first 6 weeks of this season. The 2-2 pitch. And it's bounced foul. And the Reds have played the fewest number of home games of any team in the National League. They have only played 14 home games. The Giants have played just 14 road games. 3-2 to, and he fell down again. The equipment manager and the trainer were looking at Lincecum's spikes after the last half inning down at the Giants dugout. And if you're just joining us, that is the second time what you just saw has happened tonight.
And both times Marlon Byrd at the plate. I mean, you'll see this from time to time, but the weird thing of it is, Tom, and I think every pitcher that's picked up a baseball and pitched has slipped one way or another off the mound, but he's slipping on top of the pitching rubber. It seems like he's not digging himself a little hole in front of that rubber so he can really dig his cleats in there and get a good spot to drive off of.
You know, some might be wondering, you know, watching outside of Reds country here tonight, we had a lot of rain. I'm going to tell you right now, we had a little bit of rain here Monday. That is the only rain we have had here for 2.5 weeks.
Well, they wet the field down to keep the dust away, but that's some high-tech equipment they're using to clean those cleats off with. Wonder where I can get one of those.
Well, for the kind of shoes you're wearing, you need it.
I bet Jesse Jackson has one of those.
Jay Bruce left the bases loaded when he lined out to the base of the wall in right center field, flagged by Pagan in the opening inning. Bruce, a 165 batter.
You know, if you're trying to kind of diagnose Jay Bruce along with himself and Don Long and everybody else who's watching Jay, because I mean, he scuffled last year, but 165 is its own universe right now. Just watch his front hip and see which way that's going at the time he takes a stride into the pitch.
0-2 delivery. Fastball up and away, and that's really about the max on Lincecum's fastball tonight, right at 86.
You're right, and if you watch Jay, I mean, he'll set his feet slightly open, and then when he brings him closed, he will bring him closed this way a little bit, but this is what you watch right there, the hip. Where is that going?
Out of there on strikes. Third strikeout of the game for the Giants right-hander, one out in the inning.
I mean, there's just no way you're going to be able to hit a pitch away from you if your hip right here is going in that direction. You got to get everything kind of going towards the plate, not just your foot, but your front side of your body, your shoulder, your hip especially, and you're just battling through it.
One of the very hottest hitters in this Reds lineup digs in right now, and that's Brian Pena.
Really unusual batting stance for Pena, in as much as watch where his hands are on the bat. I mean, you don't see too often where you see space between the top hand and the bottom hand. Most batting coaches say you're putting the brakes on when you hold a bat like that. I haven't seen Brian do this very much, and it's worth a conversation to find out why.
Well, he has 10 hits in his last 19 at bats and has at least 2 hits in 4 of his last 5 starts. Fouled away, 0-2.
Don't they hold a cricket bat like that? You ever played cricket?
Have I played cricket?
Do they play cricket out there?
No, they don't, to my knowledge. No, maybe where you live. You're in that tall cotton section of town.
Now he's got his hands a little closer together.
Bouncing ball up the middle and into center field. That'll be a base hit to score Frazier. And Pena continues his hot hitting. It's a 2-1 ball game.
I'll tell you one thing that will separate your hands will do. It'll cause you to throw your top hand and roll that over and get a little top spin on the ball. And that base hit right here is all about top spin. It accelerates as it comes off that hop. And Pena, as he's done so many times, drives a run in with a ground ball base hit.
Well, he's so much fun to watch. Here's Schumacher. He lined out to the left fielder his first time up. And that ball is lined hard, but Pagan is there. And now the throw back to first base, and Pena is out. Play was right there in front of him. Boy, Reds have made a number of fundamental mistakes over the last handful of games, and that's another one. They get a run, they trail by a run.
As always, brought to you by Ray St. Clair Roofing. I'm Jim Day. 700 WLW has been the longtime flagship station of the Reds radio network. This is 700 WLW night here at Great American Ballpark, and a terrific time to really salute the career of a Cincinnati icon, that man right there, Jim Scott. Before the game, applause all around. They presented him with the jersey, and then how about Jim Scott? Ceremonial first pitch to Tucker Barnhart, got it all the way to the plate, went to the top of the mound like the big boys do. And you know, there have been many that have said that Joe Nuxall was Cincinnati, your dad Tom Marty Brenneman is Cincinnati, and I think you could probably put Jim Scott in that category too. He is a legend in broadcasting in this town.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you're talking about a guy who the appeal to the masses. Of course, all the names here, Wade Hoyt, the great Joe Nuxall, Marty Brenneman. But you're talking about baseball announcers, and that's not to diminish that occupation, obviously. But with Jim Scott, you're talking about every line of work, not only those going to work every morning, those trying to get their kids to school, those that are driving through Cincinnati, that are on the way to vacation or visit relatives in this part of the country. His appeal has just been extraordinary for so long.
And he will really be missed, and is already. I mean, you're used to turning it on and hearing his voice. But do you think that he misses those school closings days?
I tell you, I had the pleasure for about 8 months as their strike three call to Casey McGee of doing the morning drive sports over at WLW, as McGee's not happy with that call. You be the judge. And you know, Chris, because you used to do some hits with him in the morning, you know, during spring training when the Reds were down in Sarasota, Florida. It was amazing to watch him at his craft in the morning. You and I were discussing this before the game.
Yeah.
He's always made his home on the Indiana side of the border. Getting up 2:30, 2:15 every single morning for over 50 years. Wow. Didn't matter
when
what
you put it like that.
Was. And there weren't many sick days. There weren't many days all of a sudden where he couldn't get there because it had snowed, you know, 7 inches overnight. This guy was remarkable to watch do his craft in that studio all by himself. You'd have a newsman or a newswoman there in the morning. You'd have a sports guy there in the morning. But when he goes on the air at 5 o'clock in the morning all those years, it's him and 2 other people and nobody else in sight.
And you know, listening on the radio, he never had a bad day.
He didn't.
I mean, we all know people, including ourselves, who go to work and you're grumpy. Something's happened at home or didn't happen at home and you're just not happy for whatever reason it is. You don't feel well that morning. Well, you could never tell with Jim Scott.
No, you could not.
Every day was a sunny day. But I guarantee he does not miss those school closing days. I mean, how would you like to read that list? Like 10 times a morning. Indiana,
right.
Ohio, Kentucky, all of them.
You know, if you ever considered a second career, you know, a little off time in the winter, maybe you could handle that for the man who's replaced Jim Scott, another legendary name in town.
I'd be glad to read each and every one of those schools from Kona. I'd read them all morning long.
See, but that would be at about, what, 10 o'clock the night before?
Right. Perfect.
Two and one on Gregor Blanco. Giants with a 2-1 lead here in the 5th. And now 2-2. Cueto has had a pair of perfect innings tonight. The other 2 have been scoring innings for the Giants. Those came in the 1st and the 3rd.
Well, all the trouble he has had with the Giants has been at the top of the order. And the last 5 batters in the order are over. Blanco has scored both the runs and has 2 of the 3 hits. He's the leadoff man.
Still 3-2 on Gregor Blanco. The Giants come in, as we mentioned, at 500. They are in 3rd place, a half game out of 2nd. 5.5 behind the division leading Los Angeles Dodgers. Pretty good battle here between Cueto and Blanco.
Right here.
Dodgers are off tonight. Oh, I beg your pardon. They'll play later tonight at home against Colorado. That's 3 walks issued tonight by Johnny. He had only walked 8 batters this entire year in 51 innings coming into play. We invite you to be part of Major League Baseball's all-star action this summer, of course, right here in Cincinnati. Visit the T-Mobile All-Star Fan Fest over at the Duke Energy Convention Center. That'll run July 10th through July the 14th. And that you can buy tickets for right now at allstargame.com. Panik is walked and bounced out. There's a strike. You know, with all the wonderful things we had to say about Jim Scott, our thoughts and prayers certainly go to the family and friends of Darryl Doc Rogers, who died on Tuesday and just 52 years young. Spent 14 years in the Reds organization as a player, an instructor, or a front office executive. 6 years he was the assistant GM. He was originally signed as a player by the San Francisco Giants.
He sure was.
What a wonderful, wonderful man. Just a beautiful heart, a beautiful spirit. Leaves behind a wife and 2 young children. And Doc, you will be missed. For the last number of years, he's done the post-game show on the radio, extra innings, on the flagship home 700 WLW. Just a beautiful man.
You're right.
Blanco running it, swung on and fouled out of play.
You know, Tom, I got to know Doc years before he ever was on the radio, and he was a front office operative in the front office for Jim Bowden. He was one of the top guys in the minor league, and then the player personnel department, always down in spring training. Had a lot to do with player moves in the organization when they bring a guy up from AA to AAA and then from AAA to the major leagues. Well respected around baseball, and well, we lost him too early.
Gone swinging Panik. And Doc Rogers would be very proud of that inning by Johnny Cueto. Doc Rogers knew his stuff about guys on the mound. God rest his soul. AM morning edition of UFC Fight Night. Former champion Frankie Edgar takes on the California kid Uriah Faber for the first time live from Manila. That'll be Saturday at 10 a.m. only on Fox Sports 1. Cueto, a dribbler out in front of the plate, and Johnny is going to leg out an infield hit. Very odd that Posey would be the guy to come to get that ball. I mean, Chris, isn't that the pitcher's ball?
You would think it would be. I mean, especially a guy like Lincecum, although he's had, problems having his footing go out from underneath him all night long. I mean, we're so close. A lot of times, now that's a catcher's ball all the way. And really what Posey tried to do was just grab it with his glove rather than scoop the ball into his glove with his meat hand and his glove hand. That's what you're taught to do, and it just didn't stick in his glove like he thought it would.
Yeah, after watching that on replay, that was a lot closer to the catcher's position.
Catchers like to call pitchers off because they've got a better view of first base. They don't have to turn completely around normally when they make that play. Pitchers are taught to get the heck out of the way when they are called off.
All right, let's see if that'll spark the Reds, who trail by a run. And Billy Hamilton, a fly ball, second in a row. He's 0 for 3 tonight, one away here in the inning.
Yeah, I still would like to see Billy attempt a bunt once per game. Had a conversation with Vince Coleman when we were in Chicago. He came out as he's part of the consulting coaching staff that the White Sox have on call, and he came in specifically to that series with the Reds to watch Billy Hamilton. And that's what they have. That was the game plan for Coleman back in the day when he was coming up with the Cardinals. Of course, they had Willie McGee, they had Tommy Herr, they had all sorts of speed on that team. But the plan was once a game you were going to attempt the base hit with a bunt.
Of course, during the Atlanta series, Billy Hamilton just had his first bunt hit of this season. That is a fair ball by the diving McGee. Johnny Cueto going to slam on the brakes. So the Reds with an infield hit, followed by a clean single from Cozart, and they have the heart of the order coming up.
Boy, second time tonight, Cozart hit the ball very hard his first time up, this time down the third baseline. Boy, he's getting the bat head on the ball an awful lot.
Cozart's just having a great year. And you can say, well, it's only 7 weeks, don't get excited. Okay. But he leads all National League shortstops in home runs and slugging percentage, second in batting, fourth in RBIs, third in on base percentage. And now Votto. Strike one. Joey has walked and was called out on strikes his last time up. A call with which he very much disagreed. Two balls and a strike to Joey Votto. Votto's second on the club in runs batted in with 21. Frazier, the team leader, 2 better than that number, with Marlon Byrd closing fast. Two on, 1 out. 2-2 to Votto.
Votto got caught looking on a called third strike, a fastball in. And that turned into a double play ball his last time up as Cozart was thrown out at second base. I'm not sure what this conference is about, but if I'm Johnny Cueto, I'm going to be very careful I don't get caught in some kind of a trick pickoff move.
Well, you saw Posey signal for the shortstop Brandon Crawford to join in on that conversation along with Lincecum. Two and two with 2 on and 1 out. Votto waits. 2 outs in the inning. As always, we remind you, coming up later on, it'll be our Miller Time moment, brought to you by Miller Lite. Frazier has provided a number of those so far here in 2015. He has a tying run out at second base, a go-ahead run at first with 2 out. It's a similar story for many, many teams in baseball. The Giants aren't much better. But the Reds so many times this season just searching for the one hit. Less than 200 as a team with runners in scoring position so far this year. One and two on Frazier. And now the count even, just low and away.
Boy, he had Alfonso Marquez just a little bit of a flinch on that one. Watch the umpire.
Lincecum stared in a long time, and then he asked Marquez 2 or 3 times, where did it miss? Was it low? Was it outside? Apparently he was told the verdict. And now the 2-2 to Frazier. We'll do it again.
You know, you've got to be impressed with Lincecum. Here's a guy who's topping out at 88. In this at bat with Todd Frazier, we've seen the high watermark of his fastball on the night velocity wise. I mean, the Reds have 4 hits. They've got 1 run. He has not given up but 1 home run all year long.
The 2-2. And he hits him in the back to load him up for Marlon Byrd. Lincecum has walked 5, now hit a batter. Dave Righetti will visit Lincecum on the mound for the 2nd time tonight.
Now he's closing in on the 100 pitch mark, and here we are in the 5th inning. So you don't know how long he's going to be left out there. Well, he's coming off of 2 outings though where he has thrown shutout baseball against Miami and then 8 innings against the Angels.
And you look down there in that bullpen, and they have the left-hander Javier Lopez getting loose, so this could very well be the final batter tonight for Lincecum. One way or the other.
Yeah.
You have the left-handed batting Jay Bruce on deck. Giants lead 2-1. They are loaded with 2 away. Byrd has walked twice tonight. Ball 1.
Marlon, good low fastball hitter. Ball just a little too far outside for him.
Little flare to short right field. It will fall. A 2-run single for Marlon Byrd, and the Reds have a 1-run lead.
You don't have to hit it hard, just hit it where they ain't, and he gets jammed right in on the knuckles, but just enough on it to get it into no man's land in right field. Cueto comes around to score. Cozart comes around to score. And just like that.
And as Tim Lincecum exits down a run, he will leave this game in his career without a single regular season victory against the Cincinnati Reds. The only team in his career among all National League clubs which Lincecum has never defeated.
104 wins.
Wow. So be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Lopez v. Bruce. When we return, the Reds have taken a 1-run lead. At bat. Get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or tablet. 2 runs here in the Reds' 5th are on the corners. And the new pitcher is Javier Lopez. Well, they have a quartet of pitchers down in that giant bullpen. They've been together for all 3 of their World Series titles. Lopez, the former Red Jeremy Affeldt, the 2 right-handers, Casilla, their closer, and their one-time closer, Sergio Romo.
Well, Lopez is the first lefty out of the gate normally, and he is extremely tough on left-handers. They use him sparingly as far as numbers of innings pitched overall. He's been in 15 games and he's pitched 8 innings, so that is the definition of a situational lefty.
Bruce went around and he's out on 3 pitches. But the Reds come up with a pair thanks to a 2-out 2-run single from that man Marlon Byrd. We go to the 6th. Cueto now posted to a 1-run lead.
Of Super Saturdays, the first 25,000 fans in attendance will receive a Johnny Bench Stars of the Queen City bobblehead. Is presented by John Morrell. For tickets, 513-381-REDS. Select Kroger locations or reds.com/tickets. Well, we are over a month into the season, and time to check in on that clock, the in-between innings clock that Major League Baseball instituted this year. Average time of games, and it is working for Cincinnati. These are the shortest average game times in Major League Baseball. The Reds, after a 2-hour and 6-minute game last night, averaging 2:47. That is 3rd quickest in all of Major League Baseball. And the Reds are one of 2 teams, along with the Angels, with 3 games under 2 hours and 15 minutes. Now, also, the Reds get reports from the league on violations, time violations. The league has yet to fine any player on that, but they do get a list of guys that are taking too much time. And Brian Price says they are amongst the least penalized teams in all of baseball. So the clock seems to be working.
Last night was about as good as it gets. Weissel Iglesias, his first Major League win. It was a magical night for that young man.
Of course, one of the reasons you can have a short game is if you're the home team and you win at home without having to win in your last at bat.
Sure.
So you save a half an inning right there, but he was dealing last night.
We talked about it during the telecast. You watch him pitch, he reminds you so much. His body, just his facial expressions, his facial features of El Duque, Orlando Hernandez.
Yeah.
And that was the first comment made I saw today by the Braves manager, Freddie Gonzalez. He said that's a mini El Duque out there.
Now, Johnny Cueto beginning to smell it a little bit. I mean, he has really tightened it up since the 3rd inning. That's when they got their last run off of a balk. And that last pitch, our Cholula hot sauce flamethrower, brought to you by that good Cholula hot sauce.
Cueto has struck out 6 of the last 8. Boy, he's got it working now. All of a sudden, you talked earlier, Chris, you alluded to finding that extra. We see it so frequently through the years with Cueto. Now with a 1-run lead, that fastball adding velocity here in the 6th.
Aren't many guys that can do that.
Boy, he just sawed off Pope. Holy Moses. They're going to need a vacuum to find pieces of that bat.
Well, the bat came around, and it looked like it hit Brian Pena in the back. Watch the bat head come around here. Come all the way around, and it hits Pena. You can see him wince right there. He ran all the way down the first baseline. Now, Paul Lassard and Brian Price are going to come on out.
I think he got the umpire as well as Pena. In fact, I'm not so sure it didn't get more of the umpire watching that replay than it did the Reds catcher, but both of them being attended to by the Reds training staff. Oh boy. It got him in the left forearm. Him being the umpire. Where'd it get Pena?
Pena in the back. The head of the back came right around. And the first thing Posey does is turn around and then wondering if everybody's all right. Look, they're both hobbling around there. Marquez is hurting. Pena's hurting. Well, that's an odd play.
Well, they're looking at
him on the hand. Yeah. Now, that's not the strike hand anyway. Pitchers will be happy to know that. You can still ring them up with the right hand with a bad left. That's the hand that they keep the clicker in.
He had it resting on his left thigh, and the bat just smashed that hand. Oh boy.
Well, Tom, you never know who's watching us here on Fox Sports Ohio. I mean, they're tuned in all over the place. And there's a guy that we normally see every time the Giants come to town. He's manning the third base coaching box.
I know you're talking about your main man.
He's not there anymore.
Nope.
He retired after last year, after the Giants won their 3rd World Series in 5 trips. He's now on the tour, making rock star stops everywhere. Tim Flannery, the Flan Man, also known as the Rev, is sitting on his couch at home, dialing us up, and wanted me to let you know that he's watching, so be on your best behavior.
He married you, did he not?
He did. Well, he performed the marriage ceremony.
That's what I mean. People know what I mean. I mean, come on.
When Beth and I were married out at the Hollister Ranch, his home away from home in the winter, he presided, and barefoot on the sand, there it was, the Flan Man. So, I do know that we're legally married in California. I think it's good for the rest of the world as well.
Well, for your sake, you better hope so. Because
I think
you
he's
hit
probably
the lottery
right
on
now.
that deal.
What a great guy. Love him.
No doubt about it.
I'm going to send some of the Giants guys home with maybe some gifts for Flan that you can only get out here in Reds country.
We really miss him. And he's still doing a little TV work for the Giants, right?
He's doing some pre and post.
What a great guy. Grew up in Kentucky, right?
Born in Kentucky, grew up in San Diego. And one talented musician. And now that he's got the third base job taken away, he's a little bit more relaxed in life.
I bet he is. All right, we're back at it. 2-0 on Brandon Belt. 2 down, nobody on. The Reds with a 1-run lead. Cueto has fanned 8, walked 3. He's only allowed 3 base hits. Remember, the Giants scored their 2nd run on a balk by Johnny Cueto. This one hooked down the right field line, foul.
Brandon Belt is kind of an unusual first baseman in as much as he really doesn't have any power at all. He had 12 home runs last year. He didn't play a full season. He had 17 the year before when he did have 500 at bats. But he's good with the glove. He doesn't strike out a lot. He'll give you about 100 strikeouts a year, but he'll walk about 50 times. On base percentage usually up around 350, 360.
Well, he is the only first baseman in the National League that does not have a home run.
Yeah.
And Cueto is rolling. He struck out 7 of the last 9 and has a 1-run lead.
Characters, be one of the first 20,000 fans to receive a Star Wars poster and enjoy a post-game fireworks show presented by Orville Redenbacher. Tickets 513-381-REDS. Select Kroger locations or reds.com/tickets. That was a tough last inning for Alfonso Marquez, the home plate umpire, and you can see on that left hand and wrist action, Paul Lessard, the head trainer for the Reds, came out, put some tape on it, and now a wrap over top of it. So umpiring can be a tough job. That home plate umpire, he is very much in the line of fire, just like a catcher. You got to be a tough guy to do it, and Alfonso Marquez standing there.
Well, they may have to x-ray that baby right after this game is over. First pitch swinging against Lopez is Brian Pena. Reds back in the 6th. 1 pitch, 1 out. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Reds. 2 runs, 3 hits for the Giants. And for those of you wondering, don't even debate it. Johnny Cueto's due up 3rd in the inning, and he's already in the on-deck circle. Strike 1 to Skip Schumacher, who continues to play for the injured Brandon Phillips. He's been diagnosed with turf toe. We were talking about it with Jim Day last night. You know, for football fans around here, the great Kenny Anderson, former NFL MVP, is quarterback for the Bengals, struggled through turf toe at the end of his career. College basketball fans may remember locally during the Bob Huggins era, local kid, outstanding player Damon Flint had the end of his collegiate career slowed down with turf toe. We talked about last night Jack Lambert, one of the great all-time tough guys and great players in NFL history. As a linebacker with the Steelers, had to retire from the NFL due to turf toe. course, Jim Day is very close. It's become extremely close with a number of these Reds through the years. Joey Votto, Jim was all over that story last year, dealing with his injured quad. And Brandon Phillips. Him and Jim Day are tight. We'll have to find out what's the latest and greatest from Jim Day on Brandon. Jim, any update on Brandon Phillips?
Well, he's better today, Tom. Brian Price said if this were the playoffs, he could probably go out there and do everything he needs to do, but there's no reason at this point in the season to run him out there. He thinks at least an extra day today will help him. And who knows, that might be manager speak. You might not see him in the lineup tomorrow night either, but he is improving.
A 1-2-3 inning for Lopez. Cueto with a 1-run lead will get the ball in the 7th. The first and the third, the Reds finally broke through against Lincecum in the 4th. A run-scoring single by Brian Pena. They loaded the bases against Lincecum with 2 outs in the 5th. And Marlon Byrd dropped one in front of the right fielder Justin Maxwell, plating a pair, giving the Reds this current 3-2 lead. Johnny Cueto in the last 3 innings has allowed 1 base runner. That was a 2-out walk in the 5th. He has struck out 7 of the last 9 Giants that he has faced. Giants had 5 base runners in the first 3 innings and scored 2 runs. In the last 3 innings, 1 base runner, no runs.
Well, the other part of that, Tom, just from a pitching part, is that you see Cueto's velocity on that fastball has ticked up a couple of notches. I mean, you just get used to him smelling it when he starts getting near the end of the game. Now we're only in the 7th inning, and I'm not sure how many more innings he will go. He's already over the 100 pitch mark. But in a 1-run game, you would like to keep the bridge to Aroldis Chapman to a minimum.
One and 2 on Justin Maxwell. Cueto. This is up and away. Of course, we remember the start in Milwaukee when Brian Price, in a 1-run game, made the decision there is no way I'm handing the ball to anybody else. Cueto, 8 innings, allowed 1 run in that game. There's a base hit on a 2-2 pitch in the left field by Maxwell. First hit for the Giants since the double by Blanco in the 3rd inning.
Was that Cueto's decision or Brian Price's decision?
I think Brian would tell you that was Johnny Cueto's decision. That's when the Brewers had the tying run at 3rd base with 1 out in the 8th inning. Price went out to the mound. He walked back to the dugout, and Cueto got out of the inning the Reds would win that game 2-1.
And we really saw him turn it on or turn it up. I mean, his fastball went from 92 to 95, and it was all over.
In the air, right field. That'll back up Bruce a couple of paces, and that takes care of Brandon Crawford. 1 out in the 7th inning. Just beyond the reach of Schumacher, and that'll be a base hit for McGee.
McGee just muscles his ball up there. He had struck out a couple of times. He wasn't a happy camper out of the last strikeout, and he picks off the first pitch he sees and bangs it through the middle.
Aoki will come up and bat for the pitcher Lopez, who works a perfect inning in a third with a couple of strikeouts. Aoki, brought in as a free agent during the offseason, has really struggled over the last 3.5 weeks. Has hit just .214 in the last 18 games. But one thing he has done extraordinarily well when given a chance is hit with runners in scoring position. A .455 batter so far as a Giant. And that's a tying run out there at second base with 1 out.
Well, the Reds have seen plenty of Aoki over the years. A couple of years in Milwaukee where he was a full-time player. Batted in the mid to high 280s. Kind of runs out of the box as he swings. And he's dangerous not because of his power by any means, but because he slashes the ball. And he doesn't seem to hit the ball where you would expect him to hit it. He may take an inside pitch and slice it down the left field line. Tough guy to defend.
Three balls and a strike. Three and one on Aoki with a tying run at second here in the San Francisco 7th. Fastball out of play. 3-1 to Aoki. Aoki has started all but one of the Giants' 34 games this season, this being the second that he did not. Payoff pitch. Double play ball here. There's one. Cueto delivers the goods again. This guy is something, man. He is something. Giants knocking on the door. Cueto slams it shut, protecting a 1-run lead.
3-2 Reds with the lead as we go on to the bottom of the 7th inning, and the Reds would certainly like to win any game, but when you've got Madison Bumgarner staring at you tomorrow night, he'll go against Jason Marquis. It would behoove you to win tonight. Reds live at 6:30 tomorrow night. Second game of a 4-game set. We'll go back upstairs to Tom Brenneman and Chris Welsh. And how about Johnny Cueto? I'll do my best Tom Brenneman here. Johnny!
Run that by me again there, Jimbo.
You know, when you sort of like you go, Jumbo! Johnny!
Johnny!
Thank you. Yes.
Gene Machi comes on from the Giant bullpen. Reds have a top of the order and a 1-run lead. Well, you wanted to see Billy Hamilton put down a bunt, at least on the first pitch he shows. Well, Billy 0 for 3 tonight. A tap out in front of the plate. A fly ball to center, a fly ball to left.
You know, the other thing that Vince Coleman told me when we visited together in Chicago last weekend, Tom, and I thought this was funny, and now that I look back, I realize he did this. I never knew he was doing it on purpose. That every pitch that he decided he was not going to swing at, I mean, he's standing in the box saying, I'm not swinging at this pitch no matter what, he would always fake a bunt. And I look back and I'm thinking, man, this guy's doing a lot of fake bunting. When is he really going to put one down? Like that.
No.
So you're getting the third baseman running in at bat every time you take a pitch.
Wasn't he the guy at first base when you threw over how many times?
17.
17 times.
Yeah, we talked about that. We had a good laugh about that. Then he stole on the 18th.
Successfully?
Of course. I picked him off later in the game, though.
Is that the time that sent Dick Williams, your manager at the time, into a rage?
No, that was another time. I several times. I have some good banquet stories if you want to come around sometime.
Well, maybe you'll be speaking in Kona.
Hey,
3-1 to Billy Hamilton. Strike 2.
Reading school closings.
Cozart on deck, then Joey Votto. Tony Cingrani was starting to get loose in the Reds bullpen while the Giants were batting there in the top of this 7th inning. Foul ball. He has since taken a seat. Now obviously he has this entire half inning to crank it back up again once we get to 2 outs in the inning. Cueto has thrown 114 pitches in the game. Got the double play ball off the bat of Aoki to end the top of the 7th.
Gene Machi is from Venezuela, El Tigre, Venezuela. Another famous former Red Venezuelan was in the ballpark today. I think he's still here. Ramon Hernandez was here. You talk about catchers with a big smile and just a way to win your heart over. What a great guy Hernandez was. And
had an excellent career.
Yes. I still remember that home run he hit off of John Axford on the opening day a few years back.
That is a game winner. Opposite field down the right field line.
3-run opposite field home run on a high fastball.
You know, 2 of those guys from that team that came from different organizations that brought so much leadership when the Reds won the division that year in 2010. Hernandez and Orlando Cabrera.
Yeah.
This will be the 9th pitch in this at bat. Machi v. Billy Hamilton. Down the left field line, and Hamilton continues to hit the ball in the air, and that is just not his game. 3 in a row fly ball outs. Well, we invite you to stick around for each and every Reds game right here on Fox Sports Ohio for Reds Live, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. We'll break it all down. Jim Day from the Fox Sports Ohio condominium along the third base line in the main concourse. Jeff Pecoro, Chris Welsh and company. Another real good night at the plate for Cozart. He had extra bases taken away his first time up on a marvelous play made by Pagan against a wall in center field. Cozart walked in a third, singled, scored the go-ahead run in the fifth.
You know, one way you tell if a hitter's seeing the ball well is you watch him take a pitch. And last year, Zach Cozart, every pitch that was low and outside, his head would drift over the center of the plate like he needed to get out there to get a better look at it. But that last pitch you just saw him take, he barely moved his head. I mean, he's in such a better hitting position now than he has been in a long time. I mean, it's been a lot of work with Don Long to get that done. There's the swing right there. He's full on a changeup. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, when you see a guy drifting all over the place, taking pitches, he's not seeing it very well.
Takes that one for strike 3, and Machi has retired the first 2 in the inning.
Well, where was it? Right down at the bottom end of the strike zone.
Well, as we suspected, Cingrani now with 2 away in the inning, back up and getting ready for him being brought on by Brian Price in the 8th. And that's a 1-pitch at bat for Votto, and that'll do it for the Reds in the 7th. Reds 3, Giants 2. Cingrani comes on in the 8th.
Steel power tool performer. And check out the National League ranks and percentage of runs scored via the home run. The Reds have certainly been relying on it. Nearly half of their runs scored thus far this year have come via the home run. That is first in the National League. Interesting enough, though, 3 runs tonight, none of them via the home run. And Todd Frazier sitting on top with Bryce Harper, leading the National League with 12 long balls. And guys, I talked to Todd Frazier today, and he said, I'd like to hit more doubles, hit some gap shots, more singles, but I'm not changing a thing. It's going pretty good for me right now.
Well, so far so good as well for his team tonight. a 1-run lead. They've come back from 2-0 down to take a 1-run advantage. Christopher Negron will replace Skip Schumacher at second base, replacing Johnny Cueto on the mound. Left-hander Tony Cingrani.
Not being used more regularly now. He went 12 days at one point during the month of April without seeing action in a ball game. But he has become the go-to man as a bridge to Aroldis Chapman in a tight game, and Cingrani, who has had experience as a starter and a reliever, but mostly as a reliever going back to his amateur days pitching for Rice. He would be the closer down there, and he's right here to take care of the 8th inning.
And a first pitch breaking ball. Andrew Susac is a backup catcher, one of 3 the Giants have on their roster, and he will bat for Blanco. Swing and a miss. Susac has made 8 starts at catcher since being brought up midway through the month of April from their AAA team. He has 1 home run, 2 runs batted in 11 games. And Cingrani needs to throw strikes.
Well, that's
time to time we'll see that bugaboo from Cingrani.
You're right. He's walked 9 in 13 innings, so he kind of gets into some kind of a bad groove as much as pitchers can get into a good groove.
He has walked the leadoff man in a 1-run game in the 8th. Remember the other day in Chicago, Cingrani threw 9 consecutive balls, and then 24 hours later he comes into the game against Atlanta here on Monday night, and he struck out the side in the 7th inning.
You're saying he's like a box of chocolates?
Strike 1 to the left-handed batting Giants second baseman Panic, who has walked, bounced to Votto, and struck out.
One of the things that was his downfall last year for Tony, other than the fact that he had some arm problems, is that he had a hard time controlling all of his secondary pitches.
Oh, he picked him off.
How about that? But we talk a lot about Johnny Cueto's great move to first base, and we didn't get really a chance to talk about Tony Cingrani. But here is a backup catcher. I mean, look at the lead he's got. He's not even 2 full steps off the bag, and he picks you off. That is when you've got a good move. And they're asking Susac in the Giants dugout right now, where art thou going?
They're going, I think, to ask for a replay on this. It looked like Votto may have been late getting that tag before Susac, his left hand, found the bag. Susac reacted immediately, thinking he was safe. Well, at the same time, probably embarrassed.
He was embarrassed. He was picked. But he did what runners should do, which is go to the very back end of the bag, the farthest away that the first baseman has to reach to get that tag in. I don't know.
Now again, you sit here and you look at some of the replays we're able to provide you with our outstanding Fox Sports Ohio crew. And remember, there are 3 outcomes under review. Confirm where there's clear and convincing evidence that the call on the field was correct. Stands being a verdict where there's no clear and convincing evidence to confirm or overturn the call, and then a call can be overturned. The question is there enough clear and convincing evidence to overturn this call?
Well, that is close.
You're looking at the face of the crew chief here, Tom Hallion. He's a third base umpire tonight. And for many of you, this is academic. For some of you, perhaps it's not. Major League Baseball, upon furthering implementing review a year ago, umpiring crews will come through New York City like they're working a regular series, but they will be in the command center there in New York, and it is there where that crew is watching all the replays. And here comes the decision. Out is a call. So the call stands as the official outcome, which meant there's just not enough clear and convincing evidence to either confirm or overturn. So it stands. Oh, and 1 to Panic, and now 0-2.
That would be the 9th pickoff that Tony Cingrani has had in his major league career. 9 of them. And there are a lot of pitchers out there that pitch a pretty good major league career and don't have any.
To tie a ribbon around the outing by Cueto tonight, over the last 2 seasons, and you can talk about Adam Wainwright, you can talk about Clayton Kershaw, Corey Kluber, the American League Cy Young Award winner last year. All the pitchers in Major League Baseball. There's a fly ball on the left. Marlon Byrd on the run, and he cannot get it, and this is trouble. Making the turn on his way to third is Panic, and he is in with a triple.
Boy, how big is that pickoff now? This ball coming off the bat of a left-hander just continues to slice. The question is it going to be fair? I didn't think that Marlon Byrd even had a chance after this ball. But it stays fair, goes off either the end of his glove or just eludes his glove. And Panic with an opposite field triple. Boy, the Giants have done their fair share of opposite field hitting tonight. Now, they've only had 6 hits.
So now the tying run at third, and here's Pagan. Strike 1. Pagan turns around to bat right-handed. Pagan has been even better from the right side than he has the left side. A .368 average. Off the glove of a diving Votto. And this game is tied at 3.
There go the Giants hitting it opposite field again. Really going with the pitch.
So the struggles in this Reds bullpen continue. Just when you think they're beginning to turn the corner, it's going to be in for Cingrani. He walked a batter. He allowed a triple and a single. He did not retire a single hitter of the 3 he faced. So Jumbo Diaz will come on in a 3-3 game. We'll be back in a moment. a win here tonight. He has pitched more games over the last 2 years where he went 7 or more innings while allowing 2 earned runs or less. Only Felix Hernandez has more over in the American League. But 3 batters into this Giants 8th inning. It's tied. 1 out of the inning, and here comes Jumbo Diaz.
15th game for Jumbo. Still trying to get that earned run average down. That can be blown up by 1 or 2 bad outings by a reliever.
Will come on to face Buster Posey. Diaz last pitched in Monday's 2-1 loss against Atlanta through a perfect 8th inning.
The Giants really don't run very much. Pagan's got 3 bags stolen. But Jumbo, despite his size, is pretty quick and compact to the plate.
Fly ball to right. Bruce is there, and that's out number 2. We were starting to talk a little bit earlier about the Giants in 1-run games, where they are 29 games over 500 over the last 5 years. 3 of those years, of course, they went on to win World Series. In 1 of those seasons, they were a 500 team. So in 4 years, in essence, they are 29 games over 500. And so, as it was pointed out by a writer recently who wrote about the Giants and all their success in 1-run games so far this year, where they're 9-4. Many believe that stuff. Chris, you and I were talking in between innings how it has to even out sooner or later. Well, it would take a lot of losses in 1-run games for the Giants to have things even out in that 1-run win-loss record category, because they have been money in the bank.
Well, they were 4 games under 500 last year. I think they win the World Series. So how much of that, and this is just a guess, Tom, but how much of that does the manager have to do with a 1-run question?
Ball hit hard, but Bird is there at the track. So Jumbo gets the final 2 outs in the inning. The Reds will bat in the bottom of the 8th. Frazier, Bird, and Bruce in a 3-3 game. Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by your local Toyota dealers, proud sponsor of the Cincinnati Reds. A gorgeous night in downtown Cincinnati. The home of this year's All-Star game, July the 14th. It'll be on Fox Saturday, MLB returns. A doubleheader, division rivals. Atlanta against the Marlins and the Pirates and the Cubs. Coverage begins at 1 Eastern on your home for baseball every Saturday, Fox Sports 1, and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Sergio Romo, the one-time closer, now setup man, comes on from the Giant bullpen.
Yeah, Mr. Slider himself, he's now 32 years old, and he's been a Giant for life. Drafted by the Giants, 28th round pick in 2005, so he's beating the odds with that. And he loves that slider. It'll be one after another after another. And he has carved himself out an excellent major league career.
Right-handed batters so far this year against Romo have 3 hits in 28 at-bats. Good contact there, but right at the third baseman, McGee. Suzak, by the way, remains in the game. Or does he? Yes, behind the plate. And then Buster Posey removes the gear, and he'll go over to first base. Brandon Belt goes from first base to left field. The Reds offense has been completely shut down by the San Francisco bullpen. And, you know, we were starting to talk about one-run games and why you win a lot of one-run games. Well, we talked about that quartet the Giants have had together for many, many years now. Romo, Casilla, Affeldt, Lopez worked a perfect inning in a third. Machi worked a perfect inning.
You know, one of the advantages of having together a quartet like that for so many years is that you get to know them. And you know where you can put them in situations where they have the best chance to succeed. Of course, you've got an excellent manager there, probably on his way to the Hall of Fame as a manager, and in my opinion, one of the best pitching coaches in the business in Dave Rigetti.
In the air, well hit by Marlon Byrd. Goodbye. Tell you what, this guy in the month of May has been money in the bank.
Boy, he has just lit it up in May. Good plate coverage, looking for a slider, getting one that catches the plate. And that didn't take much time to get out of here.
So far in the month of May, you include the 3 runs batted in tonight. He has 14 runs batted in, and very much in the Kia driver's seat is Marlon Byrd. A 2-run single to give him a lead in the 5th. He breaks a tie to give him a lead here in the 8th. And no sooner did that ball land in the seats over the left center field wall. Number 54 is cranking it up in the pen.
Well, you mentioned it, Tom, but that's only the 4th hit that Romo has given up to a right-handed hitter all year. First home run overall that he's given up. I mean, he has been mighty tidy out there.
And there's a 4-pitch walk to the left-handed batting Jay Bruce. It'll bring Brian Pena to the plate.
You know, when you rely on the slider so much, and you got a guy who's a left-handed hitter bailing a little bit, that slider's not such a good pitch to throw. And he looked like he did not want one bit of Jay Bruce.
So Romo serves up the home run to Byrd. He walks Bruce, and now they'll bring in the left-hander Jeremy Affeldt. Reds in the bottom of the 8th have taken a lead. It's 4-3. Romo staked Cincinnati to a 1-run lead. Romo walked Bruce. He heads back to the Giants' third base side dugout, giving way to left-hander and one-time Red, who's carved out a really nice career as well, and that's left-hander Jeremy Affeldt.
Well, one time Jeremy Affeldt was trying to be a starter in the Reds' rotation down in spring training. That did not work out. He ended up being an excellent reliever, went on to San Francisco, and he's enjoyed a great deal of success and some World Series championships. They're going to turn Brian Pena around. That's why they brought the left-hander in here.
Brian Price made a very interesting move. It's a move you rarely see a manager make. When Christopher Negron came in defensively in the top half of this 8th inning, more times than not, when you make a pitching change, which the Reds did, Tony Cingrani replaced Johnny Cueto. Depending, of course, where you are in your batting order, you would have the position player hit sooner than where the pitcher would hit. But Brian Price put Negron in the pitcher's spot. So when the number 8 hole in the lineup came in, originally that was the second baseman Skip Schumacher, he would be able to choose who he wanted to bat in that spot in the 8th inning. And look who's standing in the on-deck circle.
Devin Mesoraco.
It's an interesting move, one you don't see a lot. Base hit right field by Pena. Bruce will stop at second base, and now you have thunder off the bench coming up for the Reds.
Boy, Pena foils the plan of trying to take some of the hitting chance out of him by just hitting the ball the other way. I mean, he is the perfect example right now of all the Reds on this club of just put the bat on the ball and hit it where it's pitched.
Mesoraco 2 nights ago came off the bench, delivered the game-winning double down the left field line, plating Michael Lorenzen in a 4-3 decision over the Braves. Of course, Mesoraco, bothered by a bad hip, has not been able to start behind the plate or in the field since the second week of the season. Started a couple of games during interleague play against the White Sox last weekend. Boy, and where would the Reds be? We talk about missing so many big hits. Mesoraco led all major league catchers last year with 25 home runs, 80 runs batted in just 114 games. And they have basically been without him since the second week of the year. One ball and 2 strikes. 2 on, 1 out to Mesoraco. Runner takes off for third. Boy, you just saw Frazier a moment ago. I don't know if he was looking out at Jay Bruce, but you saw him rolling his fingers like, hey, let's get running here. There's 1 out in the inning. Now, he may have been doing that to Pena. Who knows?
Well, it changes the at-bat entirely now for Devin Mesoraco. You get an insurance run if you can get the ball into the outfield and stay out of the double play ball.
Two balls, 2 strikes. And Mesoraco did not like the call. Strike 3, a breaking ball that snuck in a side gate.
That's his go-to pitch, half outs against right-handers, and it's a big curveball. You don't see too many of those.
Fox Tracks had that well off the plate. You're taking a peek around the corner, looking ahead to the Giants' 9th inning. And this should be the final out. The Reds' 8th it is. They'll have Maxwell, Crawford, McGee coming up. Marlon Byrd breaks the tie with a home run to the seats in left center. Chapman will try and nail it down in the 9th. From winning their 3rd consecutive game. Now, of course, it's been a bumpy week for the Reds closer. He's not blown a save this year, but he lost games on Sunday and Monday to Aroldis Chapman when he came in to tie games.
Well, he has an earned run average. That's the first surprise, really, because the way that Chapman is throwing the ball, if you just evaluate velocity and stuff, you're thinking this guy is throwing the ball as well or better than he ever has before. But he picked up a loss in the Reds picked up a loss in the game against the White Sox and also against the Atlanta Braves.
All right, so here we go in the 9th. Justin Maxwell to start it, a right-handed batter. Then you have Brandon Crawford, a left-handed hitter. Debatable whether or not we'll see him. And then the right-handed batting Casey McGee. Dating back to a blown save on June the 28th of last year, ironically, against the Giants, Aroldis Chapman has converted 26 consecutive save chances. Ball 1. That's the longest active save streak in the major leagues. He has not allowed a home run since May the 13th. A year and a day has gone by. 1 ball and 1 strike.
And 2 breaking balls to start the at bat.
Where Chapman had the bad luck of the 103-mile-per-hour fastball, which glanced off Tucker Barnhart's glove, which allowed the Braves to score what turned out to be the winning run here on Monday night.
You know, I really believe that Chapman does not get the benefit of the doubt on a lot of pitches on the corners, on the knees, because the umpire doesn't see him. He got that one. Well, I mean, if you think about it, if the hitter can't see it at 100 miles an hour on the block on the outside part of the plate, how do you expect the umpire to get a good look at it? That's a little different on the inner part of the plate because the umpire is sitting right over that inside corner.
2-2 on Justin Maxwell. Gone.
Inside, 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 upstairs. Four-seamer.
One away here in the Giants' ninth inning. They will send up the left-handed batting Brandon Crawford. Crawford has some pop in that bat. He does have 5 home runs on the year. 0 for 3 tonight. Slider for strike 1.
You know, Crawford's looking fastball right there. And Chapman shook off Brian Pena to get to that slider. Good choice. Why not back it up?
One ball, one strike to Brandon Crawford. Chapman turns it loose. Fastball, knee high, strike 2. Back-to-back strikeouts for Chapman in the ninth. Casey McGee is struck out swinging, struck out looking, and single to center field in the 7th.
0 for 8 lifetime versus Chapman. But a pretty good fastball hitter. So you dish him up a slider on the first pitch. Or maybe that was a changeup.
Looked like a change. I think you're right.
Didn't have a lot of down and in break to it. Pretty good separation between fastball and changeup.
In the air, right field, Bruce waiting. Reds win 3 in a row. Cueto goes 7, allows 2 runs. Does not figure in the decision. Jumbo Diaz a winner over Sergio Romo. And the offensive star is Marlon Byrd. He has a 2-run single in the 5th inning to give a 1-run lead after the Giants tied the game in the 8th against Cingrani. Marlon Byrd, a solo home run to left off Sergio Romo in the bottom of the 8th, propelling the